So Ammar and I were having a discussion a few moments ago before we got back in this garage on the subject of martial arts and jiu-jitsu. But before it transitioned into that, we were talking about the death of expertise.
So The Death of Expertise is a book that is written by a gentleman who was a professor at the U.S. Naval College. And he was just, he's talking about how the current environment in the U.S. is to go against expertise. You know, he even argues, for example, that, not everybody needs to go to university. Not everybody needs to go to, needs to go to college.
To an extent.
And his argument is that the proliferation of information has deluded people into thinking that a superficial amount of knowledge in any given field is sufficient. And he says that, the culture of the United States at the moment is that every opinion has to be considered. And my ignorance is equal to your knowledge. There's no real sense of any gatekeepership whenever a person... for a person's voice to be heard, they just have to be able to make a lot of noise. They have to be able to, once they go viral, for example, their opinion is then given some sort of weight.
Politics.
No, even I think with regards to what's considered to be science, what's considered to be socially good.
But even in the space of science, right? Like science, a couple things about science. Science is not about the journey to truth, but rather it is the reduction of uncertainty. With science, you are testing a problem. There's a process to it. Somebody who says that
people deny science.
Okay, people might deny science, but that doesn't remove the facts.
According to
somebody
some people,
might deny the sun, but the sun is still there.
Okay, you know what? Some people deny that which is like the sun. Maybe nobody has denied the sun yet.
Sure.
But people deny things that are like the sun all the time. In any case, his argument is that we are basically, especially with the proliferation of knowledge through the internet and things like that, that which is considered to be, or distinguishing between a lay person and an expert, is becoming erased.
What distinguishes a lay person from an expert needs
years and years and years of study.
No, well, that's the distinguishing factor on the inside. What is the distinguishing factor on a manifested material level?
Well, that's the problem, right? It's always been the case that the general population cannot distinguish. That's why...
Does it matter?
Yes.
Okay.
The general population are not qualified to declare a person to be an expert in something.
Okay.
So, for example, Belal, if I say so-and-so is a flawless karate, what do you call that?
Practitioner.
Practitioner, right?
Yeah.
There is a world of difference between me saying that and between someone who is an expert in that field saying that person is an expert.
Sure.
And so the gatekeepers have always been, in any science, in any field, the gatekeepers have always been the experts in that field.
Okay.
They're the ones who declare a person to be an expert.
Where does it become a risk, or rather, when does it become a risk to the general safety and health of the masses if they are the judge of what is an expert?
The general risk is that they're wrong. What is the risk of learning from a black belt who isn't a black belt?
I mean, part of it is that you might be thinking that you're learning self-defense.
And what are you learning?
Not self-defense.
So what are you learning then?
So you asked me before, is there a sanad in martial arts? Can you identify through links that what you had a sensei, that sensei had a sensei, that sensei had a sensei, but can that chain be understood, where that chain comes from? Where does it go? And where does it originate? Now, granted, do martial arts evolve? Yes. So the martial arts that I learned, which is not going to be exactly the same as my sensei, because my sensei learned American Kyokushin karate, which is most familiar to those who watched Karate
And that
Kid.
other sensei might have learned other things along the way.
By the time I got it,
yeah.
coupled with the fact that my sensei himself also learned Muay Thai, also learned Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that coupled with the fact that it was sent to me, although it was still branded as karate, right? And still branded as that open hands, bare knuckle karate, but all of these elements were mixed into it, was delivered to me. But there is still a level of authenticity and chain. In the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community, everybody knows that there's different, I guess, strands of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. One of the most famous ones is the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, which in of itself can be founded back to one or two brothers who learned it from a Japanese master. And that Jiu-Jitsu could be related back to the days of the samurai. But we know that there's a chain. Now, somebody could come into the market and be like, hey, I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, right? And I'm going to teach you how to roll. I'm going to teach you how to spar, whatever word you want to use. But they're a fraud. That person...
They literally just went and bought a black belt.
They bought a black belt. They put their name on it. They claim
they open up a dojo.
They open up a dojo and they start... and they might be good at marketing. They might be good at sales. In the short term, they might get students coming in and learning. They might create YouTube videos of, hey guys, this is me doing this workout, and here's how you do this, and here's
thousands of subscribers.
Potentially, okay? But here's the thing, the experts themselves are also in that space. If the experts themselves are involved with the community and they are in the space, then they will be able to identify and point out who those
Do they have a responsibility to point out the frauds?
Absolutely. I believe experts definitely have a responsibility. If not them, then definitely there's students who are near the level of experts. Because now it's a matter of preserving the authenticity of the art that they're learning, and also preserving for in the case of martial arts, it's the reputation of the art itself.
So that answers the question that you asked at the beginning.
Which was?
Which was, why is it important for them to do that?
But in certain fields, I think it wouldn't matter.
Like?
I don't know, like learning Russian.
I agree. I mean, at the end of the day, whoever teaches you Russian best, for you to learn it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's more result-oriented, right? But even with martial arts, it comes down to a matter of like that same dude that's a fake black belt. But the point
is that there are some methods or some realms of study or what have you where you will not be able to get to the results. It's incredibly rare, that you have a person who self-studies and is able to reach a level of mastery.
Because one idea
and then there are some where you just can't, like the recitation of the Quran.
Well, absolutely, because the recitation of Quran is something that is by definition learned as it was recited by the Prophet ﷺ. And worship is something like, you can't make up worship.
So there are some things that you're just not, even in the sense that, worship, okay, I'll learn to do it from books or something like that. I'll read some illustrations or what have you.
Okay.
Right? But at some point, there's some things that you just have to be able to.
But that's like saying I'm going to learn how to throw a punch properly by looking at pictures in a book.
Some people try to do that.
Yeah, but you can't. Like that.
Don't you remember the first scene of The Karate Kid? He was learning from a book. And so Mr. Miyagi says to him, you are learning karate from a book? You don't remember that?
It's been a while. I actually just finished Cobra Kai, by the way.
I mean, I watched it when I was like 8 years old or something, but I remember that.
I remember wax on, wax off. My sensei's version of wax on, wax off was not wax on, wax off, but get on your knuckles and do push-ups because that's a proper punch.
Oh, push-up is a proper punch.
Yeah, because when you're punching, you first 2 knuckles. So this way the idea is either this or this, and maintaining vertical movement. That essentially is the movement for the punch.
Nobody punches like this, though.
I mean, no, I'm just saying, in general, the movement of the punch is like that. So if you can learn how to do push-ups this way and this way while maintaining vertical movement of the forearm, then you've learned the technique of the punch. And at the same time, you've strengthened your knuckles so that when you do strike, the density in your bone is good enough so that you don't injure yourself. But that was my sensei's wax on, wax off. Get on your knuckles and do push-ups.
It's also because in New Jersey, you're not going to have a lot of cars just laying around for you to wax on. Mr. Miyagi just happened to have like 12, 13 cars in his backyard.
Yeah, because he's a fixer-upper.
Well, this was a fantastic discussion. I'm not sure we came to any sort of conclusion.
Well, one of the things that you reacted to very hysterically when we were talking earlier was...
is that you said that some people refute them.
Yes.
So you said that's...
like there was this one guy on YouTube, again, he has a bunch
He refutes fake black belts.
Well, before he did that, there was like, there's another guy on YouTube who actually has this dojo, and he's a fake black belt. And people are watching his videos, he's like, wait, how? Like the experts are looking at this guy, and he's like, wait, this guy's a black belt?
Yeah.
Right? And then like, okay, let's like, and out of respect, they
challenge him.
They would go to his dojo. Hey, let's roll. Let's spar. You know what? You're a black belt. I'm a black belt. Let's play. And the guy was just refusing to roll. And that's when the guy was like, then he starts talking to his students who are in the dojo. He's like, look, when you do this particular move, you do the arm bar, you don't sit back, you put your weight on the guy, then pull back, so this way the guy can't get up, and so on. He's explaining technicalities. And then he talks to the sensei, and he's like, look, you're not a black belt. Like, I don't know where you got your black belt, but what you're teaching and how you're performing it is definitely not worthy of a black belt. And they recorded all of this and put it up on YouTube exposing so-and-so.
So you know what's an interesting story that I'm reminded of is Imam Ahmad and Yahya ibn Ma'in.
Okay.
Very, very close friends and great scholars of hadith, both of them.
Yeah.
They're both at a masjid and they're listening to a qassas. So the qassasin,
the story?
They're storytellers.
Okay.
Became very, very popular. These individuals are very, very popular. They're not known for their scholarship. They're known for their ability to tell stories and move crowds and emotional connections and things like that.
Cinema, basically.
And so one of the qassasin, he's telling a story and he said, I heard by Ahmad ibn Hanbal and Yahya ibn Ma'in that whoever says La ilaha illallah, from each word, every time that they say it, a bird is created. Each bird with 1,000 wings, with 1,000 tongues, praising Allah in 1,000 languages.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So Imam Ahmad is looking at Yahya ibn Ma'in. He's like, did you tell him this? He's like, no. He's like, did you? He's like, no. So then after, they go up to this guy and they're like, you said that you heard Ahmad ibn Hanbal say and Yahya ibn Ma'in, and I'm Ahmad ibn Hanbal and this is Yahya ibn Ma'in, and we never said any of that.
Yeah.
The Qassas said, I heard that Ahmad ibn Hanbal and Yahya ibn Ma'in were the biggest fools. And now I know that to be true. Do you think that you're the only Ahmad ibn Hanbal and Yahya ibn Ma'in? I've heard from over 10 Yahya ibn Ma'in's and Ahmad ibn Hanbal's.
Okay.
So he's like, you're not going to back me into a corner.
You think you're the only John? You're the only?
He's like, you think you're the only Ahmad ibn Hanbal? I've heard from over 10 of them. Or 100 or something like that.
Yeah.
But the idea is basically like sometimes you try to catch a fraud and
they lock themselves, they dig their heels in deeper. This is one of the key lessons, at least the reflection I took away from that video of these guys, these actual black belt practitioners exposing the fake one. And the objective here is not to get the fraud to change his ways. The fraud is not going to change his way, most likely. They are there because they're so deep in it, right? It's like you catch somebody so far in their lie, they're gonna lie more to maintain that lie. Whereas it's more so to give, to provide as a warning to people who might consider them as something real, and even those people who follow them as like, look, just want to let you know, this guy is definitely a straight up fraud. Now, if you want to continue following, that's fine, but keep your mind open to the fact that there's an entire community of experts, and understand that, like, this guy was making a claim that he is a black belt with the IFBJJ, with the International Federation of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is an entire database. And on that database, you not only have people...
So now you're bringing into question their validity or their own...
But, like, if that person's name is not in that database... It's like, well, this guy's claiming to be in that database, but he's not in that database. So either somebody screwed up in putting his name in there, which could be rectified if we can find out who your teacher is and, get that correction. But if you can't give us that information then and verify at the fact that you got your black belt from so-and-so and through their instruction and tutelage, the fact that they themselves are also certified, then you're a fraud. And that's, I think, what it comes down to. It would be so cool if we had these kinds of databases for the Islamic sciences.
Absolutely. That's also the benefit of degrees, right?
Yeah.
Is that institutions are something that you can easily verify.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. Like,
and a licensing body, especially some sort of, like a recitation license or something like that, so that people can...
Or certificate.
Yeah. That's literally that's what it is. Just some certificate that indicates that you have, the basic requirements for a recitation. That would be great. We don't have that yet, but inshallah somebody will take on that project.
Guys, whoever's responsible in these spaces, get up to speed, please.